Hey everybody, it's Bo here. Listen, before we start this week's episode, I need to ask you a favor. Can you today, right now even, head over to findeversale.com. That's findeversale.com. You might not know this about me, but I'm a big fan of pirates, and I love telling stories. We are working right now on a story called The Pirate's Daughter, the first in what we hope to be a series from the world of Eversail. But because this is so very, very different, we're needing your help to make it happen. So again, head over to findeversale.com. You'll learn the background behind the project, where the story came from, see the folks that are working to make it happen, as well as some pretty cool artwork. And if you are able to support us, thank you so much. Again, that's findeversale.com. Welcome to Andor TV Talk. Hey everybody, it's Bo here. What's going on? Y'all doing good? Everybody doing good? I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. But I could do even better, and that's with your support over at findeversale.com. Of course, we got this new Kickstarter campaign going on for a new project, and it is not going to happen without your support, so head over there right now. Very much appreciate those of you who do. Now let's talk about this episode right here. Okay, so we get a chance to see what this particular Imperial prison is like. It's interesting because, obviously there's a lot of different prisons that are out there. We've seen different kind of Imperial, encampments and otherwise. You can see the inner workings of Cassian as he's walking through and observing little components that are probably going to come in handy eventually should he happen to, escape from said prison. For one thing, the whole shift guards not always showing up on time. There's not exactly, as regimented as this whole Imperial thing is supposed to be, there is some lapseness that's going on, and that provides opportunity. Also, there's a lot of uniqueness here, right? Like the floors are literally electrocuted. So all you really have to do is get some of those handy dandy boots and you're going to be fine. Or you play the most awesome Star Wars version of hot lava that has ever existed. Hopefully he'll be a little better at playing it than Anakin, am I right? Okay, sorry. But beyond just kind of the mechanics of how this system works, it really is the system itself that is supposed to be this kind of, an oppressive lifestyle. I kind of get the sense that, while I've never been in prison before, I have been part of, a corporate machine. You know what I mean? You go in, you clock in, you do the job, your reward is very minimal in terms of, you might get some flavor in your food, or your punishment is very heavy, as in you get electrocuted or lose your health care. I mean, you can kind of see what's going on here in terms of what the tools are in which the Empire is using for its own prison system to maintain order and crush the souls of those they have inside of it. We also see that the prisoners have actually been treated more harshly, and at least their sentences have been increased, as if everyone there is being punished for the actions that Cassian and the other rebels recently took to send a message to the Empire. The ironic nature of all of this is that Cassian's I didn't do anything, I was a tourist. And the reality is he's actually the one that is responsible, or at least one of the ones that is responsible for exactly what's happening. Now, I was kind of confused as to why his former rebel, cohorts are actually looking for him and back on his home planet, or at least the planet that he was, originally from in the beginning of the series. I mean, I might need to go back and rewatch to just kind of be reminded. It's been we've got a lot of TV going on right now, so it can be kind of hard to keep up with all the side plots from here, there, and otherwise. But I didn't quite understand why they went back to there, or why they would even necessarily want to find Cassian. I'm sure there's a very good reason for it. I just need to go back and rewatch that. But obviously his mother figure is ill, and so, back home they're trying to get a hold of him to let him know and kind of figure out what's going on, where is he, and what has happened to him. They don't know. And neither, by the way, does Skarsgård, who the Empire is starting to circle around. We start getting more into who his character is and what his motivations are. He, is kind of this connecting point where all of these little fractal rebel cells are starting to congeal, or more accurately, he is actively trying to work to congeal these various rebel cells. We get the introduction, or the reintroduction, if you will, of Saw Gerrera in this episode. Saw Gerrera, of course, a character that has appeared in a lot of different Star Wars media, and has often been put forth as the most radical of all of these rebel cells. And what I find fascinating is that he's sitting back and he's kind of commenting on how impossible it is for these different fractions to actually work together. You have former separatists, you have former Republic people, you have, cultists? What is that about? Not to mention his own group of, self-proclaimed anarchists. There's all of these different groups, and it's Skarsgård's right here in the middle, and he's actively working to recruit them all and bring them all together into what will eventually become the Rebel Alliance. Unfortunately, I think that this means that Skarsgård is not going to make it to the end of this series, because it seems like whenever there is one person who is working to bring the group together, it's generally their death that ends up being the thing that ultimately will kind of be that inspiration or kind of unifying factor, because he was working with all these folks cared about him. Now he's dead. And now that becomes a unifying thing, or at least the spark of a unifying thing that gets them ready to work together. We also see the use, kind of the further use of oppression, right? Like he's putting pressure on the Empire so that the excessive pressure they receive will raise up rebellion in the more laid back amongst the Imperial citizens. And it's having an effect. It's certainly having an effect on the prison system. And we see that the prison system is getting more and more filled with people that really just didn't do anything. So we're getting very close to that moment of like a declaration of rebellion, of a unified rebellion. And I think that's what we're like leading up to here. Since this is very much a prequel to Rogue One, we know in Rogue One that at that point, the rebel leaders are much more active. They are working together. Mon Mothma is amongst them. Like, this is happening. So yeah, I think that's ultimately what we're leading up to here. I'm curious if in prison, Cassian is going to create K2, or was it KT? Yeah, K2SO. I think it'd be really cool if he gets like created in this place or is reprogrammed by Cassian as part of the prison break. Would be pretty cool. I mean, not necessary, but I mean, we have already seen the robot, so we know that we've got at least the footage or the model or whatever the right phraseology is. The effect of K2 exists in this series, and therefore, yeah, I think it's a safe bet we'll be seeing him. Mon Mothma is still struggling to get the funds that she needs to do ? We don't quite know where she's at yet with this. The way her daughter and her husband are acting around her is very sus. I'm thinking that she's going to get sold out by her family. Again, by the time that we get to Rogue One, Mon Mothma is actively with the rebellion. Like, she's not living it up and enjoying that really classy view. She is down in the muck, hanging out in caves with the rebels. And we don't see her daughter, we don't see her husband, we don't see her family. I think her family is going to ultimately sell her out, and they probably are actually actively in that process right now. Oh, and old boy from the forums, he tried to get a promotion, and he kept on reporting this thing about Cassian. And the like hardcore Imperial ladies like, yeah, what up? You can't have my job. What's going on? And he's like, well, I want to, but I want to. I'm way more Imperial than you are. And she's like, well, I'm the most Imperial. And he's like, I mean, like, test me, let's go. So I think that those two are going to make just great, angry allies. as they hunt down what is essentially the same thing without perhaps knowing it. Shout out to you, Lauren, who popped up at this episode again for like a brief moment. Love you, Lauren. Great seeing him again. Yeah, but ultimately this was just kind of moving the needle forward. There wasn't like a big aha moment or anything of that nature. A further exploration of the world or kind of the universe, and specifically what life under Imperial rule is like. I thought it was fascinating. I think the cleanness of the prison in particular was just eerily awful. And like there's just something strange about that, right? Like we think of like, grungy dungeon type of whatever, but no, this was like pristine because of just the massive amounts of layered authority that is kind of built in to keep the prisoners in line and at work as they make what is the weapons and the tools of their own oppression. Fascinating stuff. Looking forward to seeing what happens next week. Let me know your thoughts. Head over to Twitter, use the hashtag Andor TV Talk, and hopefully we'll continue to get some really great episodes out of this. Who knows where it's really ultimately going? It's interesting. It's kind of fun finally to watch a series and not know where it's going. Like it's kind of fun like that. I mean, we know that it's kind of probably leading up to the announcement of the rebellion or something of that nature, but at the same time, there's no real big bad. There's no real, moment that we know that we're building up to. There's no dance of the dragons. There's no forging of the rings. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of fun to like exist in this space and just enjoy the universe of Star Wars. That's going to do it for me for today, but don't worry. I'll be back in a flash.
Hurry into Ram Power Days and experience the raw power of the Ram 3500. With available best-in-class torque and towing among 350 3500 pickups when properly equipped. Strap yourself in for one powerful ride in the Ram TRX. With the most horsepower of any gas pickup ever built. Or the Ram 1500, awarded #1 in driver appeal among light-duty pickups by J.D. Power 3 years in a row. Hurry into Ram Power Days going on now. For J.D. Power 2022 U.S. award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.